December 15th, Joe Biden, apparently, we're being told the records for JFK Assassination are going to be released. And the reason why they said it wasn't released, because we were supposed to get it earlier, was significant impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you guys remember that October 23rd, 2021. But hopefully by December 15th, 2022, it'll be released. And Trump was also one that hesitated a little bit to releasing the docs. It seems to be a trend. I mean, it's been 59 years and they're still not releasing it. What's your speculation on why this thing keeps getting backed up?
I think your audience probably needs a little background on what the review board was and why we're in this situation today. When JFK came out back in 1991, it created a firestorm of controversy. And because at the end of his film, Oliver Stone wrote that the files of the House Select Committee are classified until the year 2029, which was the last investigation. And they closed in 1979. So the question was, why do we have to wait 50 years to learn the last things about John F. Kennedy's assassination? So Congress created this, what we call Assassinations Record Review Board, which had unprecedented powers in the history of record declassification. Well, they did not finish their work. They only had a 4-year lifetime. And so what happened is this dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. The terminal date where everything was supposed to be let go was 2017. So that comes up, and Trump says about a week before, I'm really looking forward, he tweets in, I'm really looking forward to releasing these last files on the JFK assassination. And so what happens? He doesn't.
Right.
He didn't do it.
Why are they afraid of releasing it? What's the hesitation?
This is what was in the most of the papers, is that he got a last-minute visit by the FBI and the CIA. And what these guys do, and because I know this for a fact, is that they come in and they read the Riot Act. And by the way, let me add this. The only person who could have stopped a declassification was the president, because it says that right in the law. Mm-hmm. And so they usually give you this speech about if you let these go, you're going to endanger the life of a lifelong agent or some kind of ongoing operation. Now, how the same agent could be in place 50 years later is really amazing to me. So what he did is he asked for a 6-month extension. Then when the 6-month extension was up, he asked for a 3-year extension, which actually went beyond his presidency. And so this then bounced to Biden, all right? And Biden released, I think, about 1,400 pages, and he said we have to wait because NARA is somehow behind the curve due to the COVID epidemic. You know, what they were doing in the intervening 20 years, I don't know, okay? And so now the new terminal date is about 3 or 4 weeks from now, December the 15th. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you for a fact that Biden was already planning to delay that, because I know some of the lawyers, you're aware that they got a lot of publicity, that they filed a lawsuit against Biden and NARA in Northern California to force the declassification he's done. Well, in that lawsuit, they have that information that he was already planning on another delay.
But do you know the reasoning behind it? I mean, it's got.
He was on the review board.
So why are you guys delaying it? As maybe we ought to blame you. What is wrong with you, Doc? Why are you delaying it?
Don't blame me.
Why do you think they're delaying it? If you were to give your perspective before we get into what we really think happened.
So I'm, this is a very personal thing for me after all the work that we put in to actually find people, find records, or arrange deeds of gift, transfer of records to the National Archives and Records Administration, all the visits to Archives 1 and 2 and other facilities around the country to do research. Just like Jim said, I kept looking on the JFK collection that's on the National Archives Records Administration website to see my record group. And here's the interesting thing. You can find records of mine in other people's records groups, but not in mine, which doesn't make sense, right? So I'm just as upset about this because in my mind, we were doing that work to literally provide a centralized place and let the American people decide. Don't hold a thing back. I mean, yes, I was taught to do, skip tracing, find people, things like that. We didn't have Google. That's a skill. You have to be taught to do that. Mm-hmm. There are sources and methods associated with how I was able to do that. I don't think those things should be released. However, like you said, it doesn't take 20 years to just take those things and threat, and you have to really have an actual threat against the country, against national security.
So you watch movies like Argo. By the way, what is that sound? That clicking noise? You hear it? What is that clicking noise? It's like somebody's clicking something. Do you hear that? Now. Oh, okay. So
Dave, can I?
I want to say something. Hang tight. So so I'm from Iran, okay, and I watched the movie Argo. And you watch the movie Argo with Ben Affleck, and you see what's going on in Iran with the whole movie, Canada, everything that they did. They waited 30 years. Like, how come you didn't release this earlier? Well, you got to wait 30 years, CIA, whatever the numbers are, right? And then you look at this. This is 59 years. Okay, it's similar to when they said, the COVID investigation cannot take place till 2076 or whatever the number that they put that's like 50 years from now, 40 years from now, right? 50 years from now. And you're like, why can't this be not investigated for 50 years? Is it because the people who are making those decisions are not going to be around 50 years? So then it goes back to the point of 1963, today, 59 years. Most of those guys have been dead that were a part of it anyway. It's only a few people of that. Right. So who's protecting who at this point? Is it legacy? What's being protected?
See, one of the things that John Thunheim talked about when we interviewed him, and the rest of his interviews in the book, all right, he said, these guys really, they don't want to give up anything, all right? And he said, he described the first meeting with the CIA, and he said he threw up a document on the screen. And he said, what on earth could you possibly object to? Right. In declassifying that document? Because to him, there was nothing in it that seemed to endanger anything, all right? And so the CIA guy looked at the document for about a minute or so, and they're waiting, and he says, give me a couple of minutes, I'll think of something. See, that's the kind of attitude these guys have that's been inbred into their whole being.
So with all the craziness taking place, I believe future looks bright. If you believe future looks bright, get your latest Future Looks Bright hat of Valuetainment. It says Future Looks Bright here, Future Looks Bright here. We got them in white, we got them in black, we got them in red. Our black on black sold out. These are about to sell out. If you haven't ordered one yet, we had a person in Michigan, bought one, then he bought three. Then when those three people weren't in the office, they had to order 58 of them because people wanted the Future Looks Bright hat, especially during times like this, because ain't nobody saying Future Looks Bright. To order your Future Looks Bright hat, click over here. And to watch the entire podcast, click here. Take care, everybody.